Israel's Benjamin Netanyahu has announced the successful formation of a new coalition, setting the stage for him to return to power as prime minister. In last month's election, Netanyahu and his allies won a majority of seats in the nation's legislature. But it took weeks of negotiations to form the coalition, and it still needs to be finalized. The coalition was formed with several right-wing groups from Israel's 120-seat Knesset. CBS News contributor Robert Berger is in Jerusalem with more. Hi there, Robert. So this coalition is arguably one of the most right-wing governments Israel has ever seen. Can you explain this and what the concerns are?
Well, the government is largely composed of nationalist parties as well as ultra-Orthodox parties. Now, the nationalists are led by a controversial anti-Arab politician named Itamar Ben-Gvir, who is slated to become national security minister. For instance, he favors tougher military and police action against the Palestinians. Now, as far as the ultra-Orthodox, they want to try to make Israel more religious, such as stopping public transportation on the Sabbath. And that's creating resentment among Israel's secular majority. Some people are even saying that Israel is starting to look like a theocracy.
So what does this coalition potentially mean for Palestinians there?
You can certainly foresee growing tensions with the Palestinians. The religious nationalists in Israel want to expand Jewish settlements, for instance, and they also favor more Jewish access to the Temple Mount, which is the holiest place in Judaism, but it is also home to the Mosque of Al-Aqsa, the third holiest place in Islam. And the mosque has long been a flashpoint of Israeli-Palestinian violence, and any change in the status quo there is likely to spark a new round of unrest, and that could bring subsequent Israeli crackdowns that will make life more difficult for the Palestinians.
So on another front, Russian President Vladimir Putin has called Netanyahu to congratulate him on forming the new government. I wonder what's the nature of what that relationship is really like. Can you explain that?
Well, Netanyahu had a close relationship with Putin during his previous terms in office because Russia is the main power broker in neighboring Syria. And Russia has basically turned a blind eye to Israeli airstrikes in Syria that are aimed at pro-Iranian militias that Israel sees as a threat. Now, this relationship has obviously become more complicated in the wake of the war in Ukraine. And while Israel still needs Russia as an ally, Netanyahu did urge Putin to end the war and suffering in Ukraine.
Now, all of these developments are happening as Netanyahu is currently on trial for alleged corruption. Robert, what's the latest there?
Netanyahu's on trial for bribery, fraud, and breach of trust. And there have been a lot of embarrassing revelations, I should say, that have come out of this trial. Nevertheless, Netanyahu was reelected. And now the new government is trying to make changes in the judiciary that have alarmed critics of Netanyahu. They charge that he's actually trying to cancel his trial altogether. So that remains to be seen. But for now, Netanyahu is basically ignoring the trial and carrying on with business as usual. And of course, he denies all of these allegations and has actually described this trial as a witch hunt.
A lot of developments. Robert Berger. Robert, thank you.
Thank you.